Hard to believe. That was 2 years ago, although sometimes it seems even longer. Intrepid historian and delegate David Barton now joins us from Convention Central in Tampa, Florida. David, we saw you in the video there. You were there on that day. Amazing to see how far we've come.
It is. That 2 years ago started a real movement. Everyone thought that was going to be a political thing, but like Glenn said, don't bring your political signs, don't wear your political T-shirts, and it has moved out. It was focused on the inside, on character, on us one at a time touching others, and from there it was to restoring courage and then restoring love, but it has really shifted the paradigm, and it was 2 years ago that it started.
Tell me about what's going on right now down in Tampa. How are things progressing?
Well, things are progressing according to schedule. I mean, these things really are fairly well scripted. A lot of the work was done before we got here. For example, I was on the platform committee to help write the platform for Republicans. So we did a lot of that work last week. Now we have the finished platform that every delegate's given a copy of this, and they'll vote on this in just a few minutes to see if this is going to be the official platform for Republicans this year. So a lot of the work's already done, and now we go through some formalities of nominating the presidential candidate and the vice presidential candidate, and then approving that nomination, etc. So a lot of this is really scripted, so it's not as much work as it is an effort to come together, to present an image and a picture, to start putting out issues and bring that to the nation.
So, David, we're hearing some kind of rumbling about, I don't know, some kind of weird problem I don't fully understand. It's got to do with the minutia of how these conventions work and how the delegates are chosen. Can you walk us through the process of what's going on? Because apparently the nominee is trying to take more control over the delegate process. Is that what's going on?
Well, the rule has been written, so let me kind of back off and say in a lot of political parties, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter, you have party bosses and then you have kind of the grassroots. The Republicans have been a whole lot more grassroots than they have party bosses, although that element is there. And so when you look at something like the Republican National Committee, maybe only half of those delegates are really grassroots. Others are chosen by governors or by senators or whoever. So we, like Texas, we've worked 8 years to change our rules to be able to, we choose the people that we send to national convention. We choose our own representatives. We let them represent the candidates, presidential candidates, as were elected in Texas. And so the rule is more like, well, we want to do it like everybody else does it. We don't want the grassroots choosing. We'll tell you who to choose. And so whoever the nominee is will get to say, I don't want those guys out of Texas or Louisiana or Maine or Colorado. I'll tell you who comes out of that state. So it really is kind of a grassroots clash against party boss kind of clash. And it's been a pretty big deal for the last couple of days. It is certainly a fight they don't want to have on national TV on the floor of the convention. So they've really made a lot of compromises in the last 2 days and really pulled their horns in and back down. And right now, grassroots are really prevailing on this thing.
Okay, so it's not as bad as I'd kind of heard that the fight was over and that it was lost, but that's not the case then.
Well, the fight is kind of over. There were two rules they're fighting about, Rule 12 and Rule 16. Both take some control away from grassroots. Rule 16 is the most egregious one in my mind, and that's what they really backed down on. They haven't backed down on 12. Now, because of the way rules work, in order to have a floor fight on this, you're going to have 29 of the 112 delegates who wrote the rules sign on to what's called a minority report. At this point, we don't have 29 delegates signed on to a report, so we can't even debate this on the floor. Now, as of last night, with Rule 16, we did have 29 delegates signed on out of the 112. We were going to have a floor debate on this, and they decided, no, we don't want that on national TV, so we'll back off on Rule 16, which was really the delegate choosing the nominees out of the states. So what we're talking about now is who has the authority to choose rules every 4 years between the conventions. Do the delegates do it, or does the RNC do it? And that's the other one that's not settled yet. The way things are right now, they probably won't get enough for a minority report, which probably means they won't be able to solve Rule 12, but it looks like we've got Rule 16 solved, we think.
I saw a minority report, and that was, so you're trying to get the 3 people put into a milk bath and get the electrodes hooked up to them so that they can predict the future crimes? Is that what's going on?
Tom Cruise is leading the way on that. Yeah, that's right.
I hate when that happens.
Amazingly, political parties are actually scarier than Tom Cruise movies typically. It's weird because you talk about this stuff, and honestly, my head starts to spin. I don't understand the intricacies of how these parties really work and this stuff. I know you do, David. But at this point, the American people, I think, sit back and they look at these issues and they say, okay, well, we're talking about principles. We're talking about, I believe in limited government. I believe in economic freedom. Yet, at these conventions, it's all these inner rules and backroom deals. I mean, does the platform really mean anything anymore to these parties? And B, what are we getting new out of the platform this time?
Well, the platform does mean a whole lot. This is what conservatives will go fight for. You see, in politics, a lot of times your moderates and your liberals will give money, they don't give time. Conservatives don't give much money, but they give a ton of time. And if you don't have people who are willing to go out and knock on doors and make phone calls and do blogs and do Facebook and social media, you don't win elections. You can't win it just with money. You got to have troops on the ground. This is what motivates troops on the ground. And this is the most conservative in my lifetime. Now, I was one of the guys who helped write this thing, but to show you how conservative, I made 71 motions to add to this platform, and 70 of them got passed. So, you know, it kind of tells you there's a lot of people who have that kind of conservative vision. You look at groups like Freedom Works, their platform was 12 planks. They got 11 of the 12 in. There's 15 conservative groups claiming victory for what's included in the platform. And that's really good news for conservatives. And it's across the board, social and economic. It's jobs, it's energy, it's regulatory stuff, get the government out of our hair. It's all good stuff. I mean, this is worth reading. It's really good stuff.
Is it one of those things where, like, you knew you couldn't get everything, so you threw in, like, a 71st thing that all conservative gets, like, free Twinkies or something that you knew they wouldn't get through?
Well, you know, after I heard myself make the motion on the 71st thing, I even voted against myself on it once it came out. So.
All right, David Barton, live from Tampa. Thank you very much, David.
Thanks, guys. Good to be with you.